How did you get introduced to Islam?
She asked me if I wanted to read the Quran, and I told her no.
Are people surprised you know Spanish?
Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Brothers and sisters, today we are with our beloved Sister Anna, sister in Islam, and we're going to be sharing or asking some questions. That way we may get to know her and a little bit more about the religion of Islam. As-salamuAlaikum, hermana.
Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
How are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Primeramente, firstly, I wanted to ask you maybe if you can share with us some information of where you're from, who you are, de dónde eres, qué es la historia. Alhamdulillah.
Sure. My name is Anna. I am Puerto Rican. My mother and father were born in Puerto Rico. I was born and raised in New Jersey. And I moved to Texas about 9-10 years ago.
Background on religion. Was your family religious? Did they practice their religion? What was their beliefs?
They were mostly Catholic. I've seen my mother pray. We've gone to church, not as often. As for the Bible, we had one, but I never read it. I never opened it, but I had my family tell me stories in the Bible.
How did you get introduced to Islam?
I lived in New Jersey, and I decided to move to Texas. I came to Texas, and when my daughter started school, I met some Muslims, but they really didn't talk to me about Islam. But I became very close with them. And there was one in particular that I used to go to her house. And she started asking me questions. And I just didn't want to hear what she had to say about Islam. I was not interested. I was searching for a religion. I didn't want to be Catholic anymore. I wanted to explore and maybe Christianity or something else. But I kept telling her, no, it's okay. I don't want to know. And that's when I first was introduced to Islam. I really didn't want to know nothing about it. And then as time went by, she asked me if I wanted to read the Quran, and I told her no. She actually put the Quran in my purse. And a few days passed by, and she asked me, have you read anything in the Quran? And I was like, nope, I'm not interested, I told you. And that's where I left it at. And I never really pursued trying to learn about it or anything, just what she said, and that's it.
What might have been some of the things that you thought you knew about Islam before meeting Muslims?
Honestly, nothing really. I didn't know. I remember when I was young and I used to go to downtown Newark, and I've heard people say As-salamuAlaikum, but I didn't know what was that all about. And then when I met my Muslim friends, that's when I was like, oh, this is Muslims. This is, I didn't know at all. I really didn't hear anything about it.
When they were trying to maybe share with you about the religion, how do you feel? Was it something that they would just casually bring up? Or maybe, like you said, they put that Quran in your purse?
It was gradually.
Okay.
She didn't force it on me. She just asked me questions about how I feel about Jesus, and how do I believe in one God. And then I would answer her, and she would just be like, okay, and she wouldn't push it, But after being with her for many months and going to her house, she just asked me if I wanted to read the Quran.
So what were now your experiences getting closer to maybe you accepting Islam?
Well, I was living here, and I decided to move back to New Jersey. I was feeling homesick. So I went back to New Jersey, and when I was there, my friend kept in touch with me. I kept in touch with her, and she would say a few things to me and stuff like that, and I listened. And then one day she just comes out of nowhere, and she tells me, there's Puerto Ricans that are Muslim. And I was like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
And then she sent me a video of a brother. He was Puerto Rican. He was from where I was from. I mean, he lived in the next town over. And she sent me a video of how he converted. And I was like, I'll watch it. Okay. So I watched it, and I was impressed. I was like, wow, we're from the same background. He's Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican. So I started searching for him on Facebook,
Mhm.
and I found him. And I sent him the longest message. And while I was typing it up, I was crying because I was getting emotional about wanting to know now about Islam. And I got a message. He replied very quickly. And I told him, listen, I like this. I want to learn more. And he was like, okay, he started explaining some things, very briefly, through text messaging, through the Facebook.
Mhm.
And I was like, could we meet up so I could talk to you? And he said, no. He says, I will give your number to my wife. And I was like, oh, that's strange. Um, and then like a few days passed by and his wife calls me. And when I talked to her on the phone, it's like I was talking to somebody I knew for the longest. We connected so good. Like it was like a great connection. And then after that, I decided to go to the masjid. And I at that time I wanted to put the hijab on. So I put the hijab on to go to the masjid. I went with my nephew. And we get to the masjid and they started greeting me. Assalamualaikum, sister. And I was like, oh, hi. I said, because I didn't know what to say.
Mhm.
And they were like, welcome. And I was like, look, I'm not Muslim, but I'm here to learn. They said, wow, you look like you're Muslim already. You're wearing, the hijab. And so they introduced me to some sisters. And then from there, I started learning a little more, and then that's when I became Muslim.
Could you give us a little bit more information on the day you accepted Islam? How did that go?
Oh my goodness. Well, I was invited to a gathering of sisters. And when I got there, I wore like a long dress and I wore the hijab. And I had some little like uh, heels. So my heels are going black, 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 black up the stairs. So when I get upstairs, they look at me and I'm like, uh-oh, am I in the wrong place? I was like nervous. Anyway, so one of the sisters took me into the office and we started talking. She said, so you're interested in Islam? And I was like, oh, yeah, but I want to learn more. And she says, what do you want to learn? I said, well, I just want to learn more, whatever more I need to learn. And she says, you could learn that, but after you become Muslim, because there's so much to learn and you're going to be learning for the rest of your life. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't feel comfortable. I want to learn first. I want to know what I'm getting into. She said, but don't you know? She's like, yeah, I do. But I was like, I just didn't want to do it. So we go inside and then we're in a round table and everyone's introducing themselves. There was Muslims and non-Muslims. And I'm hearing all these stories and I'm like, wow, this is deep. So the sister took me into the room and she started asking me questions of how I feel about Islam. And I was a bit nervous and I told her that I don't know, that I wanted to learn more. And she was like, so why don't you just do your Shahada, become Muslim, and you learn, because learning is a lifetime. You're going to learn so much while you're Muslim. Why wait? And I was afraid, I was scared, and I was like, no, I don't. And she was like, okay, no problem. So we went into the other room. That's where we met other sisters, Muslims and non-Muslims, and everybody's telling them saying their stories. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. So we get to me and I say, I'm not Muslim, I'm here to learn. And, one day I'll maybe accept Islam. And everybody was like with their mouth open because, I wore the hijab. They thought I was Muslim already. And so anyway, so the rest of the sisters spoke. And then when it got to the main sister, she says, okay, well, Anna's, I think, a little confused. Maybe we could, explain to her how important it is. So she was like, Anna, let me ask you one more question. Do you want to become Muslim? Are you interested? I said, yeah. She said, so why don't you just do your Shahada? Everything will come easily afterwards, you know? And I was like, let's do it. So I did it. And that's when I did my Shahada. And I was a little nervous because, you know, everybody was around me. And after I did my Shahada, and I was like scared, like, you know, wow, I made that step. Now I have to dedicate myself to it, you know?
So many people who are interested in Islam or maybe have been studying Islam for so much time or so many years, they reach that step and they never take their Shahada. Do you have any advice to people that maybe have reached that step but they're not sure on accepting Islam yet?
If you're sure and you know there's one God and you believe that Jesus is a prophet and you believe that Muhammad is the last prophet, then why not just do it? It's not going to harm you. There's nothing, you know, there shouldn't be anything holding you back. There's changes that you have to do, and it could be gradually, you know. Allah is merciful and He knows what's your intention. So just take that step. Everything else will come to place.
What would you have to give as advice, or how was your hijab journey? You mentioned that you went to the mosque wearing the hijab, but now, wearing it or applying it.
I was very confident with the hijab in the beginning. And I put it on, of course, before I was Muslim. And then afterwards, after I became Muslim, I wore it every day. But there came a point where I was hanging out with some friends and they were questioning me about it. And it's tough, you know, because you have people telling you, why are you wearing that? You know, and you're a new Muslim, and the only thing you know is that God told me to wear it. It says it in the Quran. Um, but you know, I didn't know anything else. And it was a struggle. It was very difficult in the beginning. You know, I went through a little hill, up the hill, down the hill, and but then, alhamdulillah, I came back, and uh, you know, I wore it, and I haven't taken it off since.
I want to go now to familia, family, coming from maybe Puerto Rican family, a family that speaks Spanish. Many of us converting into Islam, and then boom, the family, reacts a certain way.
Yeah, yeah. I think my mom took it pretty good in the beginning, not so much like the first day. But after that, you know, I'm grateful that she supports me and she loves me as her daughter. And, you know, and I'm sure that she knows there was a lot of different, I have changed to better. Yeah, my sisters, you know, I think they accepted in their own kind of way. There was one occasion that I was surprised. I had sent her a Spanish dua that a brother had posted on Facebook, and it was beautiful. And I sent it to my mom, and she sends me a long message, and she says, you know, um, that it was a beautiful and that Allah is beautiful. And she said so many beautiful things. I can't remember everything. And I was like, wow, you know, and I know my mother, she, you know, what she sees on the TV and stuff, she knows the difference. Um, and she knows that I'm not a bad person. She knows that I've changed. And, you know, she loves my friends. And she's never said anything bad about Islam, you know. And I think with her learning a little bit more, you know, she'll understand even more. The same with my sisters, you know, because you have to educate yourself. Doesn't mean that you have to um, become Muslim, but it's good to learn so you could know what your family's doing, you know.
What are some of the things that you felt were difficult to leave behind?
I used to love going out and just dancing all night to the sun come up, and that was difficult. I mean, I still was around my friends when I first became Muslim, And but I did tell them, I said, I'm stopping this because it's not good for me. Um, and they respected. I had a lot of friends that respected my decision, and they didn't force me, they didn't push me or anything like that. So that made it much easier for me to stop.
Have you ever felt any type of discrimination?
Well, at one point, I had to move to Tennessee with my mom, and I stood there for about 8 months. And I met a Muslim community, but there's a lot of people that don't like Muslims over there. And I had 2 incidents, and not incidents, just confrontations with 2 people. One was a doctor, and he questioned me about my hijab, and he said a lot of things that hurt my feelings. And another person was in a street that just stopped me and, started saying some things that I didn't like. But beside those 2, I've never had any problems with anybody else. I talk to everybody. I'm the type of person I like to talk to everybody, and I start conversations. And I haven't had that confrontation with anybody else besides those 2.
Are people surprised you know Spanish?
Yes, yes. And I speak it as much as I can when I know there's Spanish people around. And they look at me like, where are you from? And when I tell them, they can't believe it.
Mm.
They thought I would be, they think I am Arabic or Turkish or, it's all the time. The Ramadan closet is something I thought of a few years ago. When I became Muslim, I didn't have modest wear, and it was difficult for me to get it. And I know there's a lot of sisters and brothers out there that don't have the funds to buy an extra hijab or an extra abaya or even modest clothing. So I decided to start collecting modest wear from the community to give back to the community, to the new Muslims, the ones that come and are struggling. And I do it once a year to just help everyone out.
MashaAllah. Órale, pues jazakallah khair. Y maybe in the future we'll do one segment in Spanish. That way we can share with our brothers and sisters who only speak Spanish. That way they get to meet, this hermana Ana.
Okay.
Jazakallah khairan, hermana Ana. Muchas gracias. Alhamdulillah, you're very open to accepting people into your home, teaching them about Islam. All the events that I have the opportunity to be in with you, you're always awesome. So it's just something I wanted to highlight on. And little things like during the Ramadan closet, just even considering other people, for them to wear, new clothes. I remember the first time, for Ramadan, I didn't know what to wear. I didn't even know we were supposed to, go to a community or anything. So I know it makes a big difference in people's lives. And then alhamdulillah, even, the little things that you do, whether it's printing out Al-Fatiha or printing out the short surahs and sharing those with new converts, it may seem like small things, but they're actually big, big things. So I just want to say I appreciate, and alhamdulillah, may Allah bless you and your familia for everything that you do. And I still remember, going to the mosque, and then I'm just kind of like, who's that sister over there? She has a big presence. She makes sure everyone feels welcome, and it's really awesome. So you're awesome. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair de nuevo y As-salamuAlaikum.